Is the Holy Quran a universal book, or is it particular to a certain region? If it is universal, why does it mention camels but not polar bears or penguins? After all, wasn't it Allah who created all animals? Why doesn't it mention helicopters or subatomic particles which are part of the future? These are some of the most asked questions lately. We are in a century where we should know the issues of faith with proof. So, can we prove that the Holy Quran is a universal book? Let's take a look together. Something that's universal concerns everyone and is relative to the whole of humanity. How does an idea become universal? First of all, that idea needs to be accepted at the core. Let's imagine a rock that's been thrown into the water. Initially, there'll be a slight ripple at the center, then the ripples would get larger and larger. This is how an idea grows and becomes universal. It starts with a bit of a ripple at the center, and then it grows and expands just like the growing ripples. But if we can't initiate the first ripple, then we can't expect a growing expansion. So we must view Islam and Quranic law from this perspective. The center of the ripples is the people of the Arabian Peninsula. Then, the Quran spread to humanity and became universal after the center. How effective would a message be if even the first intended audience did not understand or accept it? For example, if the Quran had mentioned helicopters, subatomic particles, or animals that were unknown at the time, wouldn't it be hard to comprehend? Imagine you are facing a group of 300 people, but you are not talking to them, and you're not referring to the world they live in. A message needs to be understood primarily by its first audience, then by people of different times. So it must be such a book that all humanity understands its basic message, and those with profound knowledge can pick up on the deeper meanings. And the Quran is exactly that book. It has reached and convinced people at the core, and at the same time, it has communicated its message to all of humanity. Just think about it. 350,000 commentaries have been written on the Quran. Many profound truths have been captured. It successfully hints at the deeper meanings while dealing with more general issues using more understandable language. For example, it shares specific anecdotes like the story of the Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, which also serves as a reference to deep meanings and lofty principles. Proof that this method makes the Quran universal is that Islam has grown from a handful of believers to 1.5 billion followers and has become the world's fastest growing religion. Such questions are also asked. Why does the Quran not mention all kinds of animals? For example, why does it not mention penguins? And as a result, it is assumed that the Quran is not universal. However, the Quran is not a zoology book that references every kind of animal individually. Or another question is, why doesn't the Quran include detailed facts about the skies, the galaxy? But again, the Quran is not a book of astronomy either. The Quran is a book of revelation that explains why the universe was created, and it is a book of meaning. The Quran orders topics according to their importance. For example, when it talks about the universe, it refers to its significance more than its physical features. The Quran wants people to read about and understand the universe. This is its main purpose. It mentions the universe regarding its creation and points to its creator. For example, it does not mention detailed material facts such as it is 109 times larger than Earth when it talks about the sun. Instead, it talks about the lessons we should take about the sun. It is mentioned as a soldier under Allah's command, that it was created as a light, a bountiful gift, and a blessing for humans. The fact that these questions are being asked shows that the true scope and purpose of the Quran is not fully understood. For example, let's imagine a book titled The Main Purpose and Importance of Mathematics, a book that discusses the importance of mathematics and is written for a general audience. Now, would it be reasonable to object to it by saying, why does this book not include every topic related to mathematics? Or why isn't everything from addition and subtraction to derivatives and integrals included? Of course not. Or it would be completely irrational for a biology student to say, why haven't all topics related to biology been accounted for in this book? We know that the book's scope and purpose within that area are different. The Quran essentially addresses 4 concepts. These are monotheism, prophecy, resurrection, and justice. The Quran explains these topics to unravel the wisdom of creation and inform the primary duties of man. That's why it's unreasonable to ask why the knowledge of all of creation along with their specific names are not accounted for in the Quran. These are not relevant to the area or purpose of the book. If you think about it, out of the 124,000 prophets that have come, only 28 are named in the Quran. So if the Quran doesn't even mention all of the prophets who are the most valued human beings, would it be rational to ask why it hasn't mentioned every species of plant and animal and all the details of the universe? Besides, if it was a multi-volume book including anything and everything, could it reach everyone and be a universal book? That's another issue. The Quran speaks to every period and every century. It informs and warns people of all times, and that is what being universal means. It would be far from reasonable if the Quran only mentioned modern discoveries related to the 21st century and did not address past times. If it did, then those who lived before us would object by saying, this book does not relate to us. It's not universal. If it precisely mentioned modern wonders such as television, the internet, planes, or electricity, it would have had no meaning for the people of the past. And maybe until these discoveries were made, it would have been considered a book that is utopic, confusing, and far from reality. There wouldn't be examples for people from all periods to understand or learn from it. If you think about it, wouldn't it be an unfair test of our faith if the Quran openly described modern discoveries? Just imagine the sky darkened and suddenly the words La ilaha illallah appeared formed by 500 stars. This would be an event that everyone would have to accept unanimously, and thus it would eliminate the test of faith. And so the most reasonable method would be to comment on fundamental topics that relate to everyone and then point to future events indirectly. For example, the miraculous Quranic declaration of the expansion of the universe is one of these mysterious cues that we have mentioned before. So if we think it through and use our logic, we conclude that the initial goal should be an understandable source for all audiences and indirectly point to deeper knowledge. Quranic stories contain advice and life lessons for all of humanity. It shows the right way for human beings in all paths of life, no matter what time or place they live in. All people need advice. That's why the universality of the Quran is not affected even if it mentions events taking place at the time of its revelation or if it refers to times of the past. Just as human beings seek counsel or a guide when they are in distress, the Quran has become an example, advice, and a guide for all ages through these related events and prophetic stories. For instance, the story of Prophet Ayub, peace be upon him, shows how the afflicted can persevere in the face of illness. And this is a universal issue that people of any century may face and need help with. The example of the Prophet Jacob as relates to a life of grief and longing for one's child. And it becomes a light for anyone who is in this position. The way to withstand the temptation of illicit love is depicted and set as an example for all through the parable of Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him. The parables of the Prophet Noah and the Prophet Abraham, peace be upon them, are related to us as examples of dealing with loneliness and being marginalized. So the fact that the Quran provides the most productive solutions to these emotional issues, which may affect many people regardless of the time they live in, points to its universality. Now let's think about Quranic law. There are many laws concerning personal, social, and public life in the Quran. These laws show us the best solutions for anyone living in any period. For example, daily prayers have many spiritual and physical benefits. Fasting comes with many health benefits, and it also establishes an understanding between the individuals of a society. The ban on usury has brought an end to a vice that damages societies, and thus brings back an order. The system of zakat balances material goods among people. And the pilgrimage unites people under one roof and makes room for socializing center and a feeling of togetherness. Rules enforcing the equal treatment of people regardless of their language, color, or race. Laws regarding the best and most efficient system of administration. And the improvement seen in such societies proves that the Quran is universal. So far, we have proved that the Quran is a universal book. Now let's ask a few questions to those who claim it is not. If the Holy Quran was not a universal book, would Islam now be the fastest growing religion globally? Or if the Quran was not a universal book, could people from every continent, region, and walk of life accept Islam and make it their way of life? Or if the Quran only spoke to the society it was revealed in, wouldn't its popularity decrease over time and a huge decrease in the amount of Muslims be seen? Or what law of Islam did you try to apply to your life that didn't work? Or is there a particular law that did not provide a wise and good result for a specific society? Which key of Islam couldn't open a door that people could say it is not universal? The fact that you are watching this video right now and that you still see people easily living this religion that was revealed 1400 years ago, and that you hear thousands of convincing, rational, and undeniable arguments in favor of Islam proves that it does speak to our times and proves that it is universal.